Okay, so once again, good afternoon, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you one more time. And today we are going to talk. We are going to continue talking about the test that we are going to present in this week. So we said that the test is going to be available until the 19th of November, but we suggest you to finish it, to present it until the 29th of October, because the idea is for you to follow the schedule in order to don't have many activities to present and don't be overwhelmed by all of them, and don't let them all at the end for the end of the course, so you can organize yourself. Okay, so talking about the test, last time we were talking about simple present tense. Wait a minute, where is it? Yes, here it is. Last time, yesterday, we were talking about the simple present tense, and we said the simple present tense is divided in two parts. The first part is the management of verb to be, and the second part is the management of other kind of verbs. So we mentioned why we use the verb to be, the applicability of verb to be, and we also mentioned the applicability of simple present tense. We also talked about the grammar in terms of verb to be and the grammar we have for simple present tense, focusing and mentioning that for affirmative sentences, with simple present tense, side B, when the activity is performed by a woman, a man, or an animal, the activity is going to be modified by adding SES or IES. So we also mentioned, I also mentioned a tool you could use in order to improve your listening and speaking skills. So now we're going to focus on another thing. We're going to focus on adjectives, more specifically in comparative and superlative adjectives. But before, we need to understand what is an adjective. What is that, right? This is pretty coherent. So, an adjective is a part of speech. But okay, what's this? I'm getting lost in the jungle. Well, a part of speech is a particle, a part, right, that helps us to create sentences in English, Spanish, Italian, German, whatever, right? So I'm going to take a breath. There are 9 parts of speech, and they are noun, pronouns, verbs, article, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections. Okay, so what are they? Uh, Adjectives, this is the word that matters to us in this specific moment. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. But once again, what is a noun? Okay, you saw that in level 3, but it's better to remember it. A noun can be an animal, a dog, a cat, a rhino, whatever. Can be an idea, right? Do you remember the commercial? ¿Te parece una idea tonta? Right? It can be also a person, like for example, uncle, aunt, brother, sister, engineer, friend, whatever. Fernando, Christian, whatever. It could be also a place, for example, the Netherlands, Brazil, Colombia, La Guajira, whatever, and so on. So this is a noun. When we use adjectives, we describe nouns. So adjectives are, for example, pretty, big, enormous, handsome, tall, intelligent, artistic, and so on. So an adjective is a word that is going to help us to create our speech, nuestro discurso, our sentences, our dialogue with other people. Because the more words we use, the richer is going to be our speech, right? It's like when you read 100 Years of Solitude, or, for example, Don Quixote, right? Because it has many words that are not today are not very common, but they are very useful. Are very useful for us. So, an adjective describes a person, an animal, an object in general. A noun is a little bigger, but let's suppose it's only that. So this is an adjective. An adjective is that. Examples of adjectives, let's return to examples of adjectives. You already know this. Level 2, personality, for example, polite, distracted, reserved, impatient, right? This is kind of something about personality. But we can also use adjectives to talk about physical appearance, right? Tall, handsome, a wait a minute, I have some examples here. So medium haired, curly hair, a pretty, elegant, handsome. This is physical appearance. So adjectives help us to mention descriptions of people, animals, places, ideas, situations, buildings, nouns. But we normally know them because we use them to describe people. So these are examples of adjectives. So thin, slim, oval, all colors are adjectives, all colors. So just take it into account. But these adjectives, we already know what is an adjective, is used not only to describe a characteristic of a person, an animal, an object, sorry, a place, or a noun in general. We can use adjectives to compare, to make comparisons. So we can compare two animals, two objects, two buildings, two places, two nouns, or we can compare one noun with a group of nouns. It's pretty coherent to compare animals with animals, places with places, people with people, right? Because it's not very common to compare an animal with a building. It's kind of strange. Is it possible? Yes, but it's not very common. We cannot compare. It's difficult to compare, for example, that a rhino looks like the Empire State. I mean, what's the comparison between a gorilla with the Empire State? The gorilla is taller than the Empire State. Eh, eh, it's a little difficult to mention that, right? It's a little complex. But that's why it's very common to compare people with people, animals with animals, objects with objects, and so on. In the past, we used to compare animals with people, and this was very common. For example, Hercules was stronger or as strong as a lion. And this was in the ancient Greece, in different cultures. But we are living in the 21st century. We have more things to compare than people with animals. Therefore, we don't do it anymore. But it's possible. Just to mention this, if we were living in the literature, we could do that, or if we were living in Disney, we could do that very often too. But this is not the case. Therefore, we are going to focus in comparing something similar. Okay. So once again, comparative adjectives compare two: people with people, animals with animals, and so on. Meanwhile, superlative adjectives compare one with a group of something, one thing with a group of other things, similar things. I mean. The grammar for comparative adjectives is to have a noun, a person, an animal, an idea, whatever. The verb to be, the comparative adjective, taller, bigger, smaller, more handsome, whatever. And always the word than, because this word than is going to be like in Spanish, que. For example, más alto que, más inteligente que, más pesado que, menos concurrido que, menos contaminado que, right? Más grande que. Ese es el que, than, okay? So we are comparing a river with another river, the Amazon River with the Nilo River, let's suppose that. So this is a comparative adjective. We are always going to use the word than. In superlative adjectives, instead, we are using the article the. Why? because the article level 1, by the way, the article the is going to be used when we are mentioning that something is not common, is limited edition, is once in its type, is unique, right? When there are no other elements similar to this, right? It's unique. That's why when we make a comparison between one and a group of something else, a person between a group of people, right? And we say, let's suppose Pedro is the tallest person in the group can be integrated by 50 people, but Pedro is the only one because nobody else is taller than him. Therefore, he is unique, and that's why we use the article the. ¿Vale? So, comparative and superlative adjectives. Let's go with some examples and then we will continue with the grammar. Example: Martha is a pretty woman. The green word is the adjective pretty. That's it. Abu Simbel in Egypt is an ancient monument. Okay, so pretty and ancient are adjectives. But let's focus in the first example first. Marcela is prettier than Marta. In this case, pretty is the comparative form of, prettier is the comparative form of pretty. So prettier than. This is a comparison between two women, Marcela and Marta. Nobody else. Okay, so because you are comparing two people. That's it. And Catalina is the prettiest girl in the class. In this case, we are using the superlative and take into account that we are using the article the. Than for comparatives and the for superlatives. I'm going to switch, I'm going to make a change in the color. Just a moment. So you can see the difference. And I'm going to do something else. Just a minute. Much better. Good. Okay, so adjective, comparative, and superlative. Comparative use accompanied with than, and the superlative accompanied with the article the. I'm going to switch the color. I prefer something different. I guess it's yeah, red is much better. Okay, this is the example. Example number 1. Example number 2. I was in Bell in Egypt. I'm pretty sure you know this. You know what's this structure? You have seen this in postcards, in television, in internet, or whatever. I'm just going to show you the picture because I'm pretty sure you know it. So this is in Egypt, if just in case. It's an ancient monument. Okay, somebody created this in the past, and this is very, very old. So this is the characteristic of ancient. Okay, the Great Giza Pyramid, also in Egypt, is more ancient than. We are comparing to structures, to buildings created by humans, right? Not by astronauts or aliens or whatever. This place is more ancient than this other place. That's why we are using than, because we are comparing one versus one. Okay? It's more ancient than Abu Simbel. Let's go with the superlative. Barnen's tumulus. This is a dead complex, a mortuary complex where people was buried in the past, like a cemetery, similar like a cemetery. This structure, this place created by humans, is the most ancient monument in the world. So we have ancient monuments, okay. And we are comparing ancient monuments, but this is the oldest monument, the most ancient monument in the world, according to our knowledge, because maybe we are going to know in the future that there's something even older and it's going to change all history of human history. Maybe, we don't know. But until what we know, this is the most ancient place in the world. So, once again, we have the adjective, we have the comparative adjective, and we have the superlative adjective. The comparative adjective is going to use the word than. The superlative adjective is going to use the article the, because this is unique. There's nothing else like this, right? That's why we use the. And here are some examples. I forgot to mention something, but I can do it right now. Um, we already know what is an adjective. We already know that adjectives are used to describe people, animals, and so on. And we already know that adjectives are used to make descriptions, right? And not only to make descriptions, but also to compare animals, places, ideas, and so on. And I'm going to share with you some games that are going to help you to remember what is an adjective. So the first game, I'm going to give you two games in the chat first. Where is the chat? Here it is. Oh, yeah, much better. In this game, you are going to find a board game. So you are the pirates, right? And you are going to find the opposite of the adjective. So just to for you to remember what is an adjective. For example, answer. 5 plus 3 equals 8. That's it's not difficult. You have to choose the correct adjective. First exercise. Second exercise for you to do it at home, not with me, because it takes some time and I cannot spend the time using this. You're going to find the opposite of these adjectives. For example, what's the opposite of beautiful? The opposite of beautiful is ugly. Where is ugly? Ugly, ugly. Here you are. So click here, submit, and that's correct. Okay. So the idea is for you to do these exercises in order to be able to gain more vocabulary, to learn more vocabulary. ¿Vale? And the third exercise is this. We're going to play a game about opposite adjectives right now, and then we will continue talking about comparative and superlative adjectives. That is the topic for today's lesson. But it's better to have some more vocabulary before we can continue doing this exercise. Um, before we can continue talking about this topic. So let's go to the game, and as soon as most of you join to the game, I will start it. Wait, how many apprentices are there? There are four. There are four with two. I'm going to wait until the 27, 627, and then I will start the game. ¿Vale? Okay, 27, let's go. So, break a leg. Good luck. There are only 10 questions, so this is going to be quick. Find the opposite. Encuentre el contrario, ¿no? Okay, doc, this was faster than I thought. Faster. Comparative adjective. Okay, let's see the accuracy. I hope the accuracy will be the 100%. Okay, doc, so almost 100%. That's awesome. Therefore, we don't need to to give you feedback. But just in case, let's see the report. I just want to know what's the difficult question. What was the difficult question? Okay, what's the opposite of stupid, right? The opposite of stupid is clever or smart or intelligent. The synonym of stupid is dumb. That's why there is a movie called Dumb and Dumber, right? With a comedian. I forgot the name of this guy, this actor. Wait, Dumb and yeah, this one. So I don't remember the name of this guy. Jim Carrey, yes. So that's we are here using the comparative. Dumb, right? The adjective. Dumber, the comparative adjective. So just in case, just to take it in account. Okay, let's return. Um, mm, 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 mm. We already have vocabulary, right? With this vocabulary, we are going to compare things, ¿vale? So the question here, with this vocabulary, with these words that we have seen in the game, and we have already studied since level 2, right? Because in level 2 you study adjectives mostly. The question is, how can we go from the word in green to the word in blue, and then to the word in gray, right? How can we pass from step one to step 2 and then to step 3? How can we create the comparative form and the superlative form, right? This is the most important question for this session. So we are going to follow some rules. According to this, the rules are this. For comparative adjectives and also for superlative adjectives, we are going to follow similar rules. Very similar. Not the same, but very similar. Comparative adjectives, for comparative adjectives first, if we have a word that has one syllable, we are going to add ER at the end, or R if it already ends in E. But what is a syllable? What is that? Okay, a syllable is a, a kind of a partition, a fragment, a division we have for a word, taking into account the sound of a vowel. For example, importante has 4 syllables because each syllable has a sound of a vowel. Im, or, an, a, right? In Spanish, in English would be in, te, resting, comparative, enjoy, cute, only 1 syllable. So this is how we can take into account this is how we can understand what is a syllable. This is very important in Spanish because with syllables we can write the accent. Do you remember this? Do you remember that in school we said according to the syllable we're going to know if it's an aguda, grave, o esdrújula word. Do you remember that? Okay. In English, this is not going to be important to talk about the accent. This is going to be important to know what to do. So if we have 1 syllable, we are going to add ER to the word to make the comparative, and we are going to add EST to the superlative to create, obviously, the superlative. Let's go some examples with tall. For example, Marcos is tall. Mario is taller than Marcos, right? 1 versus 1. And Francisco is the tallest of my friends. because they are all my friends, but Francisco is the tallest from all of them. ER for comparative, EST for superlative. That's it. Tall has only one syllable. We cannot say tall, for example, because there is only one sound of vowel. Part A, rule number one. Rule number two, if we have an adjective that ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, so F, A, C, for example, suppose that, the last consonant is going to be doubled. Once again, if our adjective has one syllable. So, for example, fat, consonant, A, F, vowel, A, consonant again with the T. When we have this particularity, the last letter, the last consonant, is going to be doubled before we add ER for comparatives. Fat, fatter. What are we going to do with superlatives? We are going to do something similar. If we have a word that ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, the last consonant is going to be doubled, and we are going to add EST, fat, the fattest. For example, let's suppose, a ver, let's see, Barney Gumble from The Simpsons is fat. Homer Simpson is fatter than Barney Gumble, right? The comparative form. But Peter Griffin from American Dad, no, from Family Guy, is the fattest character I know. Let's suppose that. Fat, fatter, the fattest, right? Adjective, comparative, and superlative. However, we are not going to double this consonant if the consonant, the ending consonant, is a W. We are not going to do it. For example, slow ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, but this last consonant is not doubled. We just add ER for comparative or EST for superlative. That's it. For rule, we have already studied three. For rule, the fourth rule is this. If our adjective ends in Y and has two syllables, the Y is going to be changed by I before we add ER for comparatives, before we add EST for superlatives. For example, the CEO of my company is a busy person. Chief Executive Officer, right, by the way, if you didn't know the acronym. The CEO of Colanta, let's suppose he's Colanta, is a busy guy. The President of Colombia is busier than the CEO of Colanta. However, the America's president, I mean Joe Biden, is the busiest person in the world. I'm doing the comparison, one versus one, and I'm going to do the comparison in a superlative form, taking into account that a lot of us, all of us, are busy people, but he is the busiest person in the world, right? Because he is very, he has to do a lot of things. We are talking about presidents, for example, right? And take into account, ends in Y, and before the Y, there is a consonant. That's why the Y changes for IER for comparative, IEST for superlative. Rule 5, there are 6 rules. Rule 5, if we have adjectives with 2 syllables, with exceptions, or more, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10 syllables, that's not possible, but sometimes. If we have words that more than 2 syllables, I mean 3, 4, 5, if you want, in terms of typing, those are long words in terms of typing. If you have adjectives with 3 syllables or more, and some exceptions of 2 syllables, we are not going to add ER for comparatives, and we are not going to add est for superlatives. Instead, we are going to add a new word, more for comparatives or less, más, menos, right? And the most for superlatives. So, instead of saying important, this is an adjective, importanter, instead of saying that, because important has 3 syllables, important, right? Instead of saying that, we say more important. Let's suppose we are students in the university. Let's suppose I'm taking 3 classes. All of them are important. However, microeconomics is more important than a macroeconomics, more important for me. But the most important subject is finance in this period of my life, let's suppose. So all of them are important, but one is more important than the other. And the most important of all is this subject. Languages is the most important topic in this moment in my life, or my financial freedom, or my kids, or my career. I don't know. Important, more important, and the most important. We don't say importanter or important test, right? This is not a possible. And let's go with the last rule. There are some exceptions. These are the most important. There are many, but these are the most important. Good, bueno, better, mejor, the best, el mejor de todos. Good, better, the best.
Teacher,
Yep.
hay alguien esperando.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's not here anymore. Okay. Let's wait for him or her to return again. Okay. So there are some exceptions for comparative and in superlative adjectives. I mean, they don't follow any rules. So these adjectives are irregular adjectives, or there are some exceptions. Okay, look. So the most important exceptions are good, better, and the best. Bad, malo. In this case, good could be related to people. That person is a good person. Esa persona es una buena persona. For a situation, I am living a good moment of my life, for example. For a place, this is a good place to live, for example. The same happens with bad. Bad, worse, like a situation. I'm not living. This is a worse situation than the other. For example, a bad person, a bad situation, a bad behavior. For example, because it's not only related to people. And the superlative form is the worst. Bueno, malo. Additionally, the others, I'm going to just mention them. Many, more, and the most. Muchos o varios, más y muchos más. Far, farther, or further, that's exactly the same. And the farthest, or the furthest, lejos, más lejos, lo más lejos del mundo. This is, for example, something you see in Shrek, in a far, far away distance kingdom, right? For example. Little, pequeño o poco, depending on the context. Little, less, and the least. And lastly, but not last but not least, fun, divertido, more fun, más divertido, and the most fun, el más divertido de todos, right? What's the difference, by the way, between fun and funny? Because in Spanish, they are translated like a divertido, fun and funny. There is a difference between fun and funny. Fun is divertido because you're having a good time. And funny is divertido because you are laughing. Ha 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 ha. This is the difference between fun and funny, right? That's why we say funny with this, funnier, the comparative form, or the funniest with the superlative form. ¿Vale? Okay, these are the rules for adjectives, for comparative adjectives, and for superlative adjectives. This is not complex. This is requires some memory, but it's not difficult to understand. So, thank you, quizzes. I don't need you anymore. Let's go with some exercises. Let's go with this. So, we're going to replay some questions here. So you're going to tell me if we need to use the comparative form, the superlative form, and if so, what's the correct form, what's the correct conjugation of the adjective in these cases? So take into account that we have to use the comparative or the superlative, not the adjective in general. So in this case, for example, I'm going to give you the hint of this first exercise. This book is than that one. I am comparing one noun with another noun. So this is a comparison between one against one. First clue. Second clue, we are using the word than. Therefore, we need to use a comparative form, right? If we are using a comparative form, we cannot use a word that ends in must, that uses must, sorry, or that ends in est. We have no examples here, so it's not something that to worry about now. So, interesting. Interesting is the adjective. We need to modify the adjective. But let's think about this. Interesting. Is it possible to say interestinger? According to the rules, no. We need to do something else. We need to use another word, more. More interesting. Therefore, this book is more interesting than the other book. We are comparing one against one. Okay, let's go with this example then. This is for you. My son is than my daughter. What do you think?
Sí, taller.
Is taller than my daughter? And the answer is good, perfect. Excellent job. Next question. This is the cake I ever had.
Better.
The better, let's check. And the answer is no, because in this case, we are mentioning that this is the cake I'm eating right now. I am 15 years old. And if I am lucky, and I'm pretty sure we have been lucky in these days now, I have celebrated all my birthdays. And this means that I have eaten at least 15 times. I have eaten cake at least for 15 times, right? And let's suppose we have only eaten cake for my birthday, but we have eaten cake for all our partners and relatives' birthdays. So we have eaten cake many times in our lives. Therefore, we are comparing one cake with many other cakes. This is why we need to use the superlative form. Clue number one. Clue number two, we are using the article, the. This is unique. There's nothing like this cake. This is the best one, the most the most important, the most delicious, and so on. Good is the adjective, better is the comparative, and best is the superlative. That's why we say best. Okay, let's go with the next one. Who is Daniel or Matthew?
I consider is A, busier.
Busier, and the answer is absolutely right. Yes, because the adjective is busy, busy, and because ends in y and before the y there is a consonant. That's why we substitute the y for ier. Good. Next question. He is the person I know.
Happiest. I consider it's
Happiest.
the number C.
And
B.
this is absolutely right, because I know a lot of people, right? We are not living in the Stone Age, and I mean, we are not alone in the world. So that's why we are here in internet, for example, right? So because we know a lot of people, and most of them are happy people, right? We are going to use the superlative form. That's why we use happiest. But why C and not D? Because before the Y there is a consonant. That's why we change Y for IEEST. Sorry. Good. Next question. Which is the building in the world?
The tallest.
The tallest. And the answer is absolutely right. Again, tall is the adjective, taller, comparative, tallest, the superlative. We have the hint. This is something that's going to tell us that this is a unique. There are no more taller buildings. Okay, next question. Jupiter is the planet in our solar system.
I consider it number D, most biggest.
Most biggest. Okay, let's check. And the answer is no. Remember that we are going to use most only when we have adjectives that have more than two syllables, right? In this case, big is the adjective, just big, right? And because ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, we we double the last consonant and we say biggest. If we use ist, we don't need to use another word. We don't need to add another word, and vice versa. If we add the word more or the word most, the adjective doesn't change. It was close enough, too close. Okay, next question. Natalie is than her sister.
A. More intelligent.
More intelligent, and the answer is correct because we are comparing one versus one. And let's go with the last question. This watch is than that one.
More expensive.
More expensive, and the answer is absolutely right. Good, because we cannot say expensiver because it has three syllables. Expensive. Good job. Well done. Okay, I'm going to give you two more games. The first game is for you to complete it at home. So, where is the chat? Yeah, we need to practice a little more. Don't worry. This is just a situation of practice. That's it. Don't worry. It's just practice. So that's why I have two games for you now. The first game is for you to complete it at home. What you have to do is to click in Start, X, and with this arrow and bow, you will have to blow all the balloons. The balloons that have a question mark. This is a question mark, not this, just this. Only those who have a question mark. Okay? Wait a minute. Yeah. In order to be able to shoot those balloons, your mouse, right, the arrow, must be over the arrow and bow. So you click here and you will have to answer these questions according to the context and according to the reality. Okay, for example, in this case, we are using a superlative adjective, sorry, because a cheetah, right, is a is an animal, but this is unique in its type because we are using the article the. What is a cheetah? The most dangerous animal in the world? Maybe no. Maybe there are more dangerous animals in the world. Is the biggest animal in the world? Maybe no, because the elephants are bigger, right? So, and the giraffes are bigger too, or rhinos. Therefore, I guess no. But a cheetah is the fastest animal in the world because there are fast animals: a dog, a fox, a mouse, a cat. But a cheetah is the fastest animal, is the fastest on earth. Nobody, no, not a single animal can beat a cheetah, right? That's why we say fastest. So we click in submit, and that's it. You will have to answer according to the reality. Once again, I'm going to give you the link here in the chat because this is for you to complete it at home, not to do it with me. And this is not important. And here is the chat. So I'm sharing with you the link. And let's go with the other exercise. We're going to do something similar to what we did in the video that I was asking you to mention what are the answers. For example, you will have to tell me this question: New York and London. So this is a comparative adjective. If it's the comparative adjective or the superlative adjective, I don't know. I'm not going to give you the answer. If it's the superlative adjective, what answer should I choose? The crowdest or the most crowded? If it's the comparative adjective, should I use crowdeder or more crowded? Crowded. In this case, this is an example, say an exception of two syllables. That's why we cannot add est or er. Okay, I already gave you the answer, I guess, but for practicity, it works. Just for methodology. Okay, I'm going to give you the link. And as soon as we finish with the game, we will call it a day. We will finish the class. I'm going to try to join the game too, just for fun. Okay, I will start as soon as the timer says 6:57, ¿vale?
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah, tell me.
The more is for comparative forms and the most is for superlative form.
More is for comparative and the most is for superlative. I mean, without the article. For comparatives, don't use the article. Para comparativos, no utilice el artículo the.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, let's go. In beginning 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and break a leg. Rompase una patica, como siempre. Okie doke, this is it. So let's see what's your accuracy. Okay, I know this exercise can be difficult. I know. So let's see let's check the feedback. Let's correct the questions because I know this exercise is normally difficult. Okay, Mount Everest is than Mount Fuji. Okay, in this case, the most important part we need to take into account for this exercise at least is to know if we are comparing one against one, to know if it's a comparative, or if we are using a comparison between one against many. So we can use a superlative. The Mount Everest and Mount Fuji are two mountains, right? So we are comparing one against one. Therefore, we need to use a comparative form. We cannot use highest or the highest. This is not possible. High is an adjective with one syllable. What do we do with adjectives with one syllable? We add ER for comparatives. We add EST for superlatives. Mount Everest is higher than Mount Fuji. Question number 2. This soup and that soup. We are comparing two soups, right? Two soups. 1 and 2. We are not, therefore, we are using a comparative form. In this case, tasty is the adjective. And let's remember that when an adjective ends in Y and before the Y there is a consonant, the Y changes for IER for comparatives, IEST for superlative. Tastiest would be correct if we were comparing one soup against many other kinds of soup. Sancocho versus ajiaco, consommé, and another kind of soup, gazpacho, for example. So in this case, we could be comparing one kind of soup against many other kinds of soup. Okay, we are comparing this one with another, only a comparative form. Let's continue. A tiger and a cat. Again, we are using a comparative form because one animal versus another animal, right? We are not mentioning one animal versus many animals. Therefore, strong is the word, is the adjective. What do? We are going to modify it by adding er because strong cannot be divided in more than one syllable. We cannot say strong, right? This is not possible. Strong, because there is only one sound of a vowel. It has no more vowel sounds, more than one. Let's continue. Movie I have ever seen in my life. And here is a question. You have seen many movies in your life, and many have been boring, right? So this is not the first time you get sleepy, you get tired in the cinema or in your house watching a movie. Like, for example, what people say about, spoiler alert, about the Joker Part 2. This is, for many people, a really boring movie, right? However, from all these boring movies, the movie I saw yesterday or the movie I saw 3 minutes ago is the worst, right? We are mentioning a superlative form. So therefore we can use boringest or most boring. But here we have an issue, and the issue is that boring has syllables. And we mentioned in this session that for adjectives with 3 syllables or more, we use the word must for superlative, and more for comparatives. And for adjectives with 2 syllables, we need to have experience because sometimes we say we add est, and sometimes we add the most for superlatives. So even though boringest could be an option, because this is a superlative form, the most accepted form for the superlative form in terms of superlative for boring is most boring. ¿Vale? This is just experience because both, according to the rules, can be correct, but most boring is more common. Okay, let's go with the next one. CN Tower, and the CN Tower in Canada was building in the world in 2004. Question about buildings. Is the CN Tower the only building in the world? I guess no, right? There are many buildings in the world, and many of them are tall. That's why we know that we say that New York, for example, has many skyscrapers, right? Because many of them are tall buildings. Therefore, we cannot use a comparative form. We need to use a superlative form. Tall. Tall is the adjectives. Oops. Tall is the adjective. If tall is the adjective and it has only one syllable, we cannot say most tall, right? Because it's not coherent, because it has only one syllable. Therefore, we are going to modify it by adding ER for comparative, EST for superlative. And because this is a superlative, we say the tallest. Next, Antarctica, place on Earth. There are many places that are cold on Earth, right? But Antarctica is is unique because there are many places that are cold, like Cape Town in South Africa, or many places in Russia, or Canada, or Australia sometimes, or Chile in the south, whatever, North Pole, South Pole, and so on. So we are comparing one place with many other cold places. That's why we use the superlative. But what's the superlative form? Okay, cold is the adjective. Can we divide the word cold in many syllables? Can we say cold? Well, it's not possible, right? Because it only has one sound of vowel. We cannot separate it. It has one syllable. Therefore, that's why we say coldest. Next, a mouse and a lion. Comparison, 1 versus 1. Therefore, we say weak, weaker. We cannot say more weak because weak, it has only one syllable. We cannot say we, right? So that's why we say weaker. This is a little easier now. Sugar and salt. Again, comparative. Sweet. We cannot say sweet, right? So it has one syllable, therefore we say sweeter. Sweet, sweeter, comparative. Oxygen and oxygen. In fact, yes, it's a superlative form because there are many cheap natural resources in the world. Oxygen, water, apparently energy, good, and so on. Paper, right? But this is the cheapest one. Cheap. We cannot separate the word cheap in two syllables. We cannot say cheap, right? Or cheap. It's not possible. It has only one syllable. That's why we say cheapest for superlative or cheaper for comparative. A desert and a jungle. Again, 1 versus 1. This is a comparative. This is correct. But dry. We cannot say dry. Dry is not possible. It has only one syllable. Therefore, we say drier. And because it ends in Y, we modify the Y. We change it for IER. Good. This is correct. This is correct. So this is it. Congratulations for the exercise. I know this can be a little difficult, but we just need to do some practice. That's why I recommend you to complete this game, Kids ESL games, to improve your grammar skills in terms of comparative and superlative adjectives. And that's it. If you have any other questions about comparative and superlative adjectives, you are welcome. If no, I wish you success in your test. And I will meet you again next week. ¿Vale? So if you have questions, you can mention them now. If no, okay, I guess there are no questions. If no questions, there are no questions. That's what I guess. I will meet you again next week. Therefore, Have an excellent weekend and see you next time. Take care, guys. See you soon. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. See you.
See you. Take care. See you later.